All right, this is about a comprehensive approach to property business and investment. Okay. Now, please write these down. They are so important to understand because literally no one I know gets this right. Okay. Please write this down. Okay. If you are sitting on lots of cash, focus on planning gain and nothing else. If you're sitting on no cash at all or anywhere in the middle, focus on cash flowing deals, not on planning gain. Because if you don't have oxygen to breathe, how are you going to work on a deal that's going to take you 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years to close? Likewise, have clarity on every step of your journey on where your focus needs to be: cash flow, lump sums, or a combination of these two. Okay. Have clarity on the countries geographically. If you focus on London, we're talking about capital growth investment. So if you buy a property, you can look back 10, 15, 20 years later, it's doubled in price. You buy something in Birmingham, it's not as much capital growth, but you get more higher return on like the higher yield, right? And then when you go Manchester, you may get a little less capital growth and again a slightly higher yield. You go all the way up to Scotland and Blackpool and all those regions, you can forget about capital growth and you can look at all the cash flow, right? You can make serious high yielding properties. Take high yielding properties, right? Having clarity geographically, having then clarity on your own situation in the business. Do you need cash flow? Do you need lump sums? Do you need a hybrid? For example, like the way we are growing, as in me, I am on the hybrid mode. Okay, so I do cash flow and I also do lump sums. Are you with me? Okay. Personally, I like cash flow. Okay. I hate it when I have no cash coming in and I may make bloody 500,000 from a deal, but I want to see cash coming in every day because I'm spending cash every day on my life, right? I have to wake up and pay my bill. I don't want to pay my bill from that 500,000 I'm going to make. I don't want to do that. That's me personally. Now it's for you to have clarity on your personality and say what kind of person you are. Okay? Please write this down. This is important. Understanding active and passive income. Literally, the number of people I speak with who have absolutely no clue about passive and active income. Active income is when you are an electrician, a plumber, a solicitor, whatever profession that you have trained in life, and you go and do that job, or you even create a self-employed position for yourself. Let's say you are a plumber and you've created your own, you know, database of customers and you go and serve them. That's your active income. You're physically working for those jobs, right? The day you stop working, you have no income. Okay. And then passive income is the money that you physically do not work for. Yes, you still oversee it, but you don't work for it. Okay. Now, when you look at these three strategies that we cover, planning gain, that's active income. That's not passive income. But the good part is that you make decent lump sums. Yes, no? But then you look at the block management and hotel management. If you follow the criteria, that becomes passive income. You still have to oversee it. If, let's say, your manager leaves or does a bad job, you still have to manage him. If your units are not profitable, you still have to come into the picture and look after the sales and the marketing. But that still becomes passive because the moment you come in and you set up the marketing and sales properly and you have the right manager, and then you can delegate and then still be passive. You still have to oversee it. Okay. Likewise, when you buy a building, let's say you buy a hotel, you buy a block for yourself. I'm not talking about residential single unit investment anymore. Okay. I'm talking about buying a block of units. Okay. Holiday let. You give it to a manager. Instead of doing the rent-to-rent model, now you're buying it, so you make more money. Okay. Likewise, instead of taking a hotel on lease, you now go and buy the hotel, and that becomes a higher rental income or higher income, even if you hire a manager and manage it. Raise your hand if you know what I mean and have full clarity on what I'm saying. This is your absolute foundation of your comprehensive approach to your business. Okay? Either you're buying something for yourself or you're taking it rent to rent. You need to have clarity that when you take something rent to rent, you'll just have slightly lesser income in comparison to when you buy it for yourself. And then obviously when you buy it, you have the capital growth going in your favor depending on where it is. Okay? And then if you buy it, the good part is you become conscious about paying the debt off. And then you can look back 10, 15, 20 years later, and then the compounding effect of paying off that debt means you will own that asset all unencumbered, as in fully paid for, and then you can enjoy it like really, really passive income. Does that make sense? Yeah, there's no mortgage, nothing left on it 10, 20 years later. But if you buy it now and you have a mortgage, then you make less income. But then if you take it rent to rent, you make lesser income. Okay? I want to see everyone's hand, please. This is really the absolute foundation of what you are trying to do right now. If you don't understand this, I promise you guys, you cannot do property business at all. Okay? You can't invest. It's as simple as that. Now, to give you example, okay, I want to make sure that you really understand this, okay? We have, so I still manage hypothetically 3 hotels, okay? One of them is leased out. We own it freehold, all cash. So all I get is the rent. What do I do for it? Absolutely nothing except making sure that they're paying the rent on time, okay? Even the rental income is covered in the insurance, and the insurance still gets paid by the tenant. So if they stop paying for 12 months, I still get paid by the insurance company. But that insurance even gets paid by the tenant. Then I have 2 other hotels in hybrid management where I charge on different levels, and it is, well, 97% passive. Okay? I only just oversee the channel manager, the pricing bit, and make sure that the money is coming into the account, which takes me no more than an hour a week. And that's for both hotels. Okay? Again, I'm not talking about residential investment anymore. I'm talking about commercial. And even when you talk about planning gain, even though it can be residential or commercial planning gain, but it still is a commercial aspect of the business that we are covering and not residential aspect. Does that make sense? Yeah, it still is a commercial part of the business in and itself. Okay, we could be still doing planning gain for a residential even then. Okay, all right. Anyone has any questions so far? Yeah, please go ahead.
I have a question. When you're talking about commercial property, do you mean commercial to resi? This no?
I'm talking about commercial aspect.
Okay.
Okay. So when you take a land, or you take a really large detached house, or you take any property that you want to gain planning on, okay, it could be residential, it could be commercial, it doesn't really matter. In and itself, planning gain part is a commercial aspect. That's what I mean. Does that make sense?
Okay. Commercial aspect.
Commercial aspect. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So we are not invested. Like I am personally not investing anything into residential unless the laws change in future or whatever. At this moment of time, investing into residential is an absolute waste of time. Okay? Unless you find something that's 25, 30% discounted, it's a rundown property, you go and add another 20% value, and all of a sudden you're making 50%. We don't cover that in the franchise. But that's something I would do if I get the right deal in front of me. I won't leave it, because some of these deals can take, like, they can be flipped very quickly, 3-6 months, and you can walk away with 200-300 grand. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Yeah, it's not something you can ignore, because probate properties come into the market all the time. You can get them 20-30% discounted, and you go back, do a little bit of work, and all of a sudden you've just made yourself, well, practically 100% of the profits. You buy it for $500,000. It was probably valued at 700. You go and spend 100 grand. All of a sudden, it's worth £1 million. You've made yourself 400 grand profits. Sometimes even doubling the profits. Okay, this is very, very common and a good strategy. Like I said, if you need guidance on this, I'll give you the guidance, but we just don't cover it in the franchise. Okay. Now, a comprehensive approach. Okay. You got to look at your business, and within that, these three strategies, it's like a full circle. Okay. Because if, let's say, you go and find yourself a block, 10 units, raise your hand if you remember when I showed you long-term bookings through booking.com. Raise your hand if you remember when I showed you that in the session. Okay. Even right now, if I show you, we are at 90% occupancy. You go back, look at a 10-unit development, rent to rent management. You make £1,000 £1,000 each unit. From what I've shown you, you're just making 10 grand from a single deal a month. How many jobs in the world, or how many businesses in the world can make you passively 10 grand a month? Very few and far between. Very few and far between. Okay. The average wage in the city of London, as in where the Bank of England is, the city of London, is 80 grand a year. Okay. So I'm talking about making an executive level income just from one single deal, guys. Okay. And I promise you, I have shown in most of the sessions, and I can show it to you a million times. All you got to do is focus on the leads that's being generated, go and negotiate, done. Okay. And if you don't have money, I will bring you the money. Okay. I'm going to take you back into a discussion I was having only a couple of hours ago. Okay. Someone sent me a deal, GDV 160 million. Cost is just shy of 100 million, but let's say 100 million with all the contingencies. And they're asking me to bring the JV partner. Okay. Let me share with you the mistakes they're making, or the learning curve that they're going through. The last deal that they did was worth about £2 million. Do you think a JV partner will bring you 100 million if your last deal was 2 million and you're asking them for 100 million? Do you think they'll give that money?
Absolutely not. No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Please, guys, understand the mindset of an investor. Okay. You can go and look for your first deal at £1 million, no problem, because £1 million in London isn't a lot of money. Okay. It can just be a 1-unit deal, right? Yeah. I can bring you, as in PN can bring you 98% of the cost. You invest 2%. That means, let's look at £1 million deal. You only need 20 grand. I can bring you 980 grand. As long as there's 25% net profit on the GDV after the debt finance cost, because it's a combination of debt and equity that we bring on the table. Okay. Now, let's say you do a deal that's worth about £1 million. You come back to me, let's say the next time, and say, well, I've seen a deal that's worth about 5 million. The likely is I'll bring you the money as long as you take off all the major risk mitigation. Minor ones, no problem. Majors, you have to risk mitigate. I can take you from, so you can start with the first £1 million deal. The second one can be 5 million. But let's say on the third one, you come and say, well, I want to do a £100 million deal. What happens then? It still is a no. It still is a no. They're not going to give you 100 million, guys, if you go from 5 million to 100 million. Within that, you need to be aware of the fact that even though we can bring you 98%, they'll still ask you for the 2% plus the personal guarantees. So when you do a deal that's worth about £1 million and you put 2%, right? The deal is worth 980 grand. They're going to come and ask you for PGs worth about 10%, which is about 100 grand. They're
Jack,
not
I think
going to hand over the money. Yes, please, Moro.
no, Jack. I was just going to say, excuse my voice, Jack, as I've got a big cold.
That's okay.
No, Jack. I was just going to say the jump is too high. It's too big of a jump. If you're doing 5 million and we're working together on a deal that's 5 million, how can I go from that to 100 million? The jump is too big.
Yes,
It's
so
too
that's
big
what
of a
I
jump.
want you to understand, okay? Because I was getting this call literally 2 hours ago and discussing the deal. I'm looking at it and thinking, man, you've not even done a one small size deal. How can you go from a small, not even a small size deal, all the way up to 600 unit deal?
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
make
It's
sense.
not.
Okay, so here is how you need to be looking at it so you can see for yourself. Okay, if you do £1 million deal, I can get you 98%. You put in 2%. That 2% cannot be borrowed money. It has to be your money. Okay, so don't think you're gonna come to me and say, well, Jack, I'm looking at a £10 million deal. I need the 2%, 200 grand. And as you say, you know what, I'll just borrow it from another investor. No, they won't accept it. It has to be your money. You can borrow it from a family member, but not an external investor. Okay, so the 2% I bring you, so 98% I bring you, 2% you invest, but you still need 10% PGs. So let's say you go and do a deal that's worth about £1 million and you bring me 10% PGs, which is about 100 grand from, I don't know, maybe the house you live in, maybe a BT investment, or whatever it is, right? Don't expect money if you don't have PGs. They're not going to give you the money. I'm not going to come and back you up for your PGs. I can't. Okay? You need to still have all of that in place. But let's say you go from 1 million to 5 million. You can go from 5 million to 10 million. You can go from 10 to 20, but you can't go from 10 to 100 million either. You can go from 50 to 100 million. Okay? Please try and understand the mindset of the investor. Okay? If you come to me and say, I want to do a development deal and it's worth 100 million, okay? I'm sorry, but you're wasting your time. Okay? Because it's not going to happen. But here is one thing that can happen. That can happen. You come to me and say, I've seen a piece of land that when built is worth 100 million GDV. We can get this piece of land for 5 million, okay, or 10 million. And the planning gain on this is going to add another 20 million. And we will only work on the planning gain aspect of it. As long as we can risk mitigate all the majors, if you need, let's say, 200 grand to apply for the planning permission, I can bring you that money. Does that make sense? Please write this down. We do not cover the development part. We only cover the planning gain part. On the planning gain part, let's say it's worth about 10 million, but we can sign an option agreement. But for us to sign even the option agreement and apply for planning, we need 200 grand. I can bring you that money as long as it is major risk mitigation done. Please raise your hand if you have full clarity on this. Now, this goes on your CV as working on the planning gain steps part of a deal that's worth 100 million. Now you go and take that and then put it for the next deal as in your CV when you're giving your CV to the investor. And all of a sudden, I think the investors will look at it from a very, very positive light. Can you see where I'm going with this, right? You have to find where is the smallest gap in the investor's mind for you to be able to go in and say, well, I want you to give me 10 million. Okay? And maybe even without PGs. But you have to prove yourself for that. This applies to everyone, including me. Okay? When I'm pitching, and if last deal that I did was worth about 5 million, the guys are not just going to turn up and say, well, you know what, you laid PE in so you can have 100 million. That's not how it works, guys. Or you have all the knowledge in the bloody property world and you can have 100 million. They're not going to give me money for that. Okay? Yeah. It does not work like that, guys. The way it works is that you have to prove your experience in a chronological order of improvement. You go from 1 million to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and then maybe even do a 10 million pound deal. And the next one you do is a 2 million because you had some issue at home and you didn't want to deal with it. And you go back to another 15 million pound deal. Okay? But you have to learn to seep into the mind of an investor and say, well, you know what, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I've done so far, this is what I've done so far, you know, and proving your experience. Either it is on the foundation of planning gain, either it is the foundation of block management, either it is the foundation of the hotel management, or either it is the foundation of a conversion or a new build, or even running a franchise like I am running. You have to build your foundation step by step to prove that you can deliver. Everyone on the same page with me, please? Raise your hand.
Jack, quick one on this one.
Yeah.
Jack, I don't know if you've forgotten. Do you remember the deal I sent you via email?
I replied to it.
Yes. So Jack, on that one, based on that one, what would you then recommend for me, Jack? Because so I don't. Yeah. Go on, go on.
I will give you the approach. I'll give you the approach. Okay. So when I looked at it, seems like most of the rear extensions are approved. That is 6-meter extensions.
Right? Yes.
Does not seem like, from what I saw from the basic research I did, is being able to build something at the back. I didn't see it anywhere. So it'd be too risky to say you can get something at the back. If you're going to get a rear extension, you can get a property that's 20-25% discounted, then you've got a deal. If you can't get it 20-25% discounted, I don't see a deal.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
How would I, Jack? How would I approach? Who? Sorry, Jack, if you've answered this, but
no, there's no stupid question, guys. Please always remember, there's no stupid question.
So, Jack, who would I approach to find out more? Because that deal, Jack, is not listed anywhere.
Where did it come to you? How did it come to you?
Well, Jack, I was just walking around, as you know, Jack, as you normally do.
Oh, so you printed it yourself?
Yeah, so I printed it myself, Jack. I did my own research.
Walk in, knock the door. Knock the door,
Jack,
guys.
It's all barricaded, so there's no.
Oh, it's barricaded.
Yeah, Jack, I don't know if you remember, Jack. It's a barricaded. It's like to stop the squatters coming in. Those things.
Yeah. So it's barricaded.
Yeah,
okay, that's fine.
It's completely barricaded.
Ask the neighbors.
Okay.
Knock on the neighbor's door and say, who was living here? I would really appreciate if you can give me a number.
Okay.
That is your best bet. That is absolutely your best bet by far. If it is barricaded, you can't even leave a...
Nothing. I can't leave anything because it's all...
You can't leave anything, right? You can go and buy a title. It might give you something, but really your best bet always is ask the neighbors.
And the reason, Jack, I think it could be a good one, Jack, is because, I don't know if you remember, I sent you, Jack, all the comparables on that.
Yes, I saw them. Yes.
On that street. And, Jack, it's all on that street. They're all on the same street. 1.6, 1.9, 1.5, 1.2, 1.4. It's all that average. So
this is your region. This is your region, right?
Yes.
So what you want to do is have clarity on why something is worth the bottom one, let's say 1.2, and why is the top one 1.9. You want to know why the difference of 700 grand.
I already know, Jack. It's because of the quality of the materials after the refurb.
And the spec.
So the spec. That's what it is, Jack. Because I checked when I looked, Jack, and on the comparables, you could see, Jack, the one that's 1.9, the finish is
okay. And is it the same size plot or similar size plot?
Same size plot. It's literally, Jack, the same house. The only difference is it's mirrored in terms of detached.
Okay, so what you want to do is find out from an estate agent how easy, difficult it is to sell a property worth the top end, as in just shy of 2 million. And then at the same time, how many buyers are looking in that region of that size, that spec property? Is there any on the waiting list? You know, and then also, how much can you fetch a property like that for? If you can fetch it for, let's say, 100 grand, oh sorry, a million pound, and you invest, let's say, 250 grand on it, it's 1.25 million. Let's say that it costs you, let's say, 1.4, and you can sell it for 2 million. That's a decent deal.
Yeah.
And remember, this refurb can be done very, very quickly. These can be, if you do it actively, it can be done in 3 months.
Oh, there you go.
A very fast-paced conversion, like a refurb deal. Okay.
Okay. I'll give him a call, Jack. I'll give the local agents a call.
And as long as it's the right deal, even though, like I said, I'm not as inclined towards doing deals like that. If it brings 600 grand, purchase 1 million, we can buy it on a bridge. We need 350 plus the stamp duty. Let's say 450, let's say 500. We need 500,000. It makes 600 grand, almost doubling the money. I may be able to find an investor for it.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jack, for me, Jack, because you were saying, Jack, that I have to put some money in, would you recommend I sell the deal on, or would I do any sort of JV?
That's a personal question. Okay. So when you bring the deal on the table, right? If I have the time, let's say me personally have the time, and I'm local there, I'm going to be in London 3 months. I'm going to look at my calendar and say, well, you know what, I'll do the deal. I make a call to a friend. He says, you know what, I've got some cash sitting around. Let's do the deal.
Yeah.
Okay. It all depends on your personal circumstances. Okay. It's how you look at the deal, how it fits with your life, and you play from that point.
Okay.
Does that give you the answer? Did I? Or I hope I didn't get your question
wrong. No, Jack. You answered it right, Jack. What you're saying, Jack, is depending on my circumstances, am I willing to do what needs to be done in order to find the money to fund the deal?
Exactly. Let me share with you why I'm saying that. Remember, when I took 4 hotels in under 12 months, guys, I got my timing wrong. It's not something you learn unless you do it. Okay, I got my timing wrong. I have a son in my lab who's 1 year old. Okay, we live in a country like UK where there's very little domestic help.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah.
How the hell do I go and take 4 hotels under my management?
Yeah.
Can you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you need to remember, even if you had asked me this question about 5 years ago, I would have not had a clear answer.
Yeah.
I have an answer now because I went through that phase of taking too much on me while I have a young family, and I'm now struggling, thinking, what the hell do I do?
Yeah.
All right.
We have to take the family into account as well. Yeah.
It all depends on your situation, what you're doing, the time, your own personal circumstances, and not about the deal. Is it worth my time? If the answer is no, I'll leave it. If it's worth my time, I'll leave it. Remember, let me share with you a story. I've shared this in previous sessions, right? If you think your time is worth pennies, or if you think your time is worth pounds, or if you think your time is worth a few millions, you're absolutely right on all 3 levels. I'll let you digest this, guys. If you think your time is worth pennies, or if you think your time is worth pounds, or if you think your time is worth a few millions, you're right on every single level. Okay? I just believe and follow to remain on the top level. If it's something that I look at, it's not worth my time, I'm just going to say it's not worth my time, I'm not going to do it. Okay? And irrespective of how much profit it's going to bring, if it's not worth my time, it's not worth my time. Done and dusted. That's how I feel, that's how I believe. Okay? Raise your hand if you're getting this, right? May sound like a philosophy, but I'll let you apply this to your life. Okay? I'll let you apply this to your life. This is very important. Okay? For those who know, I am again, everything that I say, about like me as in I. It's coming from humility, and I'm trying to have you apply in your life. Okay, I'm a qualified financial advisor. Okay, qualified financial advisors make exactly the same amount of money as the average wage in the region. Okay, the highest wage in the region of the city is 80, not the highest, sorry, the average wage of the people who work in the city is 80 grand. Okay, so as a financial advisor, if I go and work in the city, I'll on average make 80 grand. Okay, if I decide I'm going to only work with the CEOs, they make 4, 5 million, 10 million a year. As a financial advisor, I'd only make that money. Okay, so it all depends on how you plan your life around understanding the stats and lining yourself up with those stats. Does that make sense? Okay, remember, eventually, irrespective of how much we think about ourselves, we are eventually just a stat. Okay, we are a part of the stats out there. The more you know, the more you follow that, the more money you can practically make. Okay, if you decide today, I'm going to act like an investor, you will make investors' money in a few years' time as long as you do the work. But if you say, I am just a builder and a refurb man, and you don't have the patience to wait to become an investor, that's the kind of money you're going to make. Right? It's not rocket science, is it? Okay? You decide today, I'm going to become an influencer. Okay? It might take you 10 years. Okay? But you will make influencers money. But it can take you 10 years. Okay? So it all depends on how and where you line yourself up. Okay? Okay, going back to your approach to the property. Guys, please ask me questions if you can think of questions in the middle. Damir, Amasar, Anara, Grace, and more. Okay? Now, like I said, if you are struggling with cash and you want cash, focus on cash flowing strategies. Absolutely nothing else. Because when you're thinking about two things at a time, what happens? Damir, you want to answer this? I can see you're smiling.
Nothing happens, you know.
Exactly, nothing happens, guys. But guess how many people actually apply this?
Yeah.
Guess how many people apply this? They're thinking of 10 things at a time. Okay? When you're focusing on cash flowing deals, focus on cash flowing deals and nothing else. Okay? Go and negotiate. Go pitch to the first one, you'll make mistakes. Go back and reflect on where I made mistakes. Come back and improve your pitch. Discuss it with me. Go back and pitch it again. You'll make 50% less mistakes. Now, let's say you got another no. Come back, reflect back, discuss it with me. Third time, now you go from 100% making mistakes to 50% to 25% to 15% to 10%. And by the time you're on the 10th call or the 11th call, you start getting yeses. Yeah. But please do not make the second call if you have not written down the rejections you got and why you didn't get a yes. Don't go to the next call. You're wasting your time if you jump too quickly onto the next call. Start writing down the objections you got and how to overcome those objections. When I get a no, that is the best call I had. Because that's what's teaching me where I'm going wrong. The number of people I come across, when they pick up the phone and become parrots, repeating exactly the same thing to the call that they last one got a no from, is unbelievable. Please remember, genetically, we are monkeys, okay? But if you just act like one, you will end up in a jungle, okay? You're not gonna create an amazing life, okay? The difference between a monkey, which is I think 96% like us, correct me if I'm wrong, that 4% difference is that we have the conscious to reflect back on what we did wrong and how we can improve and how we can create the best life at the back of that. Okay, that is the only difference between the monkeys and us. Okay, otherwise there is physically, genetically no difference. Okay, you may be sitting here and thinking, well, Jack is really sharing common sense. Okay, you'll be surprised at everything that I'm just sharing with you, how many people absolutely do not do all of this. Some even tell me, you know what, you're telling me this, I already know. And when I ask them, do you apply? Oh, yes, I do. Then why aren't you progressing? Oh, I thought you will tell me how to progress. What? Can you see where I'm going with this? Okay. If you don't take action, and you don't take smart action, as in you don't approach as many landlords, you keep improving your pitch alongside me, you keep doing this consistently, and then if you come and tell me that you're still getting no's, I won't believe you. I'll only believe you if you tell me, I made the first call, I made 12 mistakes, and I wrote all of those 12. Remember, this is learning curves, not mistakes, learning curves, right? I went through 12 objections on the next call, and I still got a no, but here is the 2 objections new he gave me. And then by the 10th call, the guy was about to say a yes, but he still said no. And he said, I'll come back to you. Then we are talking. Because now what you're doing is you're tracking your progress. Can you see where I'm going with this? You're now tracking your progress. And then you bring those objections to me, and then let me see how I deal with them. And then you go, so between you guys, it's not just me, right? We are bouncing boards of each other. So between the Mir and Amitsa, you bounce ideas. And then between other members, you bounce ideas. Say, well, how do you deal with this objection? Okay. And then you find your best way to deal with that objection. And then you start to get yeses. Okay. The number of times, in fact, let me share with you what I do all day long. All day long, my job is stakeholder management. Stakeholder means every person that's connected to your business. They could be investors, they could be sellers, landlords, estate agents, they could be plumbers, builders, architects, planners. That's all I do, guys. Stakeholder management. And as long as I can get them to give me a yes and do the work, I can progress. The number of times people come to me and say, well, I can't get a builder to sit down and complete the work, because you don't know how to get yeses. You don't know how to lead another human being. Everyone on the same page with me? Right? Yeah. You call 3 plumbers, bloody none of them turn up. You just don't know how to get people to say a yes to you. You don't know how to get people to do the work. Get them to do the work as you would want them to do. Does that make sense? Okay. The number of people who come to me and say, well, I'm just struggling with my builder. I'm struggling with my plumber. My plumber ended up fixing it the wrong way, right? My architect didn't do the job properly. You did not do the job properly. You did not manage him well. Okay? That's how you got to look at it. Stakeholder management. So my mindset at the moment is that I'm the investor. I'm supposed to bring money. I'm supposed to bring the deal and get the deal done. This money could be my money. It could be an investor's money. It could be family's money. It could be from anywhere. Okay? The number of times people think that they can approach their parents or siblings and then eventually get a no. So, well, my brother didn't help me. The reason he didn't help you is because he doesn't trust you. And the reason he doesn't trust you is because you've not built the skills. The day you build the skills, even your parents will give you money. Your siblings will give you money. Your friends will give you money. You go back to your school friends and ask them for money. And this is going to say, well, can you show me where you're going to invest? And if you have nothing to show, why would they give you the money? This applies to everyone in your life. Everyone. You know, if let's say you have a son or a daughter who is 30 years old, okay, ask them for money. Why would they give you money if they've seen you wasting money all your life? Raise your hand, see where I'm going with this? Yeah? If they see you wise with money, they're going to give you the money. If they see you skilled, they'll give you the money. But if they don't see you skilled with money, neither your family, nor your friends, nor your investors, no one is going to give you money. Okay? You need to understand money. So going back to what I said, my approach to business is I'm the investor. I bring other investors into the picture. I bring my own money into the picture. What's the difference between my own money and investors' money? My money is leveraged more because it's my money. It makes me more profits. But when I borrow from investors, my aim is to, let's say I pay him 12% or 6% or 8% or whatever that may be, and I need to make more money on that money. Does that make sense? And then I'm supposed to bring the deal and then make it profitable and then return the money back to the investors and rinse and repeat. This money could be borrowed for planning gain, could be borrowed for development, could be borrowed for block management, could be borrowed for hotel management. Raise your hand if you see where I'm going with this, right? Now that I've got my own hotel and I manage other 3 hotels, right? Do you think if I woke up to an investor, take my CV with me and say, well, I want a hotel on rent to rent, or I want to buy a hotel, that you'd invest with me? Can you see where I'm going with this? Yeah. It's proving yourself on ground to yourself first before you take yourself to an investor and say, well, you know what? I've proved myself to myself. Now I want to prove myself to you. Okay. So when I'm running my business, my mindset is I am the investor. I'm going to bring the money. I'm going to bring the deal. I'm going to make it profitable. I'm going to return the money and rinse and repeat. That's all I do. Is it simple? No. No, sorry. Is it easy? No. Is it simple? Yes. It's simple, but not easy. Okay? Because you need to learn every technicality that is sitting in the chain of leading an investor, leading a team, and leading the landlords or the sellers, and then making it profitable, and then making sure that the investor is happy, so you can rinse and repeat the same formula again. If you don't keep the investor happy, he's just going to turn up and say, well, can I have the money back? And he's going to disappear. And you have to go back and find an investor again. So you have to keep the investor happy. You have to keep the landlords happy. You have to keep the estate agents happy. You have to keep all the professionals in the middle, all of this happy, to create a chain that's going to work for you. Okay? Keeping someone happy does not mean that, you say yes to everything. It's more about understanding expectations, making them realistic, and then living up to those expectations. Not saying yes to everything. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Any questions so far? Like I said, it may sound like a lot of common sense, but absolutely very, very, very few people, like literally I'm talking about the top 2-3% that actually follow all of this on ground And I do not know of anyone who follows all of this on ground and is not successful. Moro, any questions? Anara, any questions? Emma, sir, any questions? Grace, any questions? Emma, sir, any questions? No. Grace, any questions? Damir, do you have any questions?
No, Jack. No.
All right.
That's
Okay.
kind of clear. Just action is needed.
Clarity, I promise you, clarity equals, and I mean literally equals mastery, guys. You become a master only when you have clarity on the next steps of your life. Okay? No point, here is a big one which most people don't. No point becoming a property investor when that's not what you're meant to do in the first place. Okay? A lot of people do this, right? They do things and then realize 5-10 years later, well, I was not supposed to do this. This is what my life is all about. Unbelievable. Like, why would you do something if it's not supposed to be your life in the first place? Okay? Me doing this session is me being at happiness. Okay? I'm happy doing these sessions because the more I teach, the more I understand the depth myself. Yeah, Grace, no problem. I understand. The more I teach, the more I understand the depth myself. The more I understand the depth myself, the more I go on ground and implement myself. And the more I implement, the more progress I do. Can you see where I'm going with this? In fact, the easiest way to learn the depth of something is by teaching it. Because there's no way you can learn the depth of something unless you don't know how to teach it. Everything that I just shared with you, if I said to you now, you go and teach me, and if you can't teach me, that means you haven't learned. Okay? And if you haven't learned, that means you can't implement on ground well. Okay? So now, going back to your approach to the property, there's two aspects of the property, leads and money, as in property deals and money. We're bringing you the deals. We can even bring you the money depending on the deal. Your job is to just look at the deal, make sense of it, go and approach the landlords, start negotiating alongside us. We've made it a lot more easier for you. I see a big challenge, which is the confidence and the words required to be able to approach a landlord. I'll work on that with you as well, as in literally on ground, coming alongside you and approaching landlords. Okay? Any other challenges that I have maybe overlooked? Appraisals is probably another one, which you need to keep working and improving on. I've given you the template. I have covered appraisals in many sessions as well. I will keep covering more and more so you get more clarity going forward as well. Okay? Any other challenges that I may have overlooked? Raise your hand if you have one in your mind. No? Moro? No? Good. Amasa? Grace, Anara?
No, I just wanted to tell you from my experience, because I was teaching at university 10 years in my country, that just makes everything so clear. That is the best experience I had. Even if I didn't know the subject, after I've done 1, 2, 3 times repeated, it just such a big clarity.
Yes, it's clear. Yeah, you have to know the depth to be able to teach it. And the more you teach, the more depth you understand, the more you can go and implement, the more you can progress. But it's not about just teaching it, it's implementing it on ground. If you don't implement it on ground, it's just then theory, nothing else.
Yes.
Okay? All right, guys. If you have any questions, great. If you don't have any questions, that is your approach to the property. That is all your comprehensive approach. Because most people don't have clarity on passive, active income. Me being able to take as much time as I've taken off in my life, I would have not been able to come even close to this if I did not have the passive income.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
I just have passive income to be able to go anywhere in the world and do whatever I like and be anywhere as long as I want to. Okay. Now I'm kind of getting bored of that. So I'm coming back to active income as well, alongside the passive income. Okay. Guys, please remember, I'm not bragging. I'm just humble. I'm just telling you the on-ground reality. In fact, I made a video of the disadvantages of financial freedom. Okay. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's probably somewhere on my social media. Okay. Lots of disadvantages of financial freedom as well. Okay. In fact,
Jack,
way too many.
Jack, you're telling us, Jack, you're telling us you're being humble, but at the same time, Jack, you're also telling us what's possible. So it's a
Yeah, exactly.
that's the way I
exactly.
That's the way I see it, Jack. When you're telling us, look, I've got this is what I'm doing, X, Y, Z. In my mind, Jack, I don't see you as bragging. I see you as saying, hey, if you do what I did, you'll get the result I have. So
exactly. At the same time, like I said, you'll be surprised at the disadvantages of having financial freedom, because human beings at core, we are impulsive. Okay. We are not the emotionally strongest species in the world. Okay. Which means that when you have money and you're sitting around and not doing anything, impulses can take over and you can end up doing the things that you're not supposed to do.
right.
All right.
In other words, Jack, it's good to maintain busy somewhat, because Jack, it's funny you said that. I was listening to I can't remember a lady her name is Danny Johnson. She's retired today, but she actually mentioned that one of the bad things about being financially free, if you can even say that, is that like you said, Jack, you can fall into a trap, which is you got nothing to do and you end up doing nothing. And you make foolish decisions.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you can make stupid decisions just because you've got nothing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And when I say impulsive, I'm okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay. If I sit at home and have absolutely nothing to do, where do you think I'm going to focus? I'm going to keep eating. Okay.
Yeah. You're going to eat a lot. Okay? Yeah.
You eat a lot.
Go into the fridge and grab your stuff.
Exactly. And if I have nothing else to do and I'm sitting at home and I have no worry about money, what's the next thing a man thinks? Women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Woman.
And you take a woman and you put her in the same position. What does she think? Let me go and shop.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So financial freedom has its own severe disadvantages if you don't know how to manage that and control your impulses. Okay.
I think,
So,
Jack, I think that's why I like your approach, Jack, of we find a deal, we grab some cash flow. Once we have that going and we have a manager helping us out, now you focus on planning game. In other words,
exactly.
you're always focusing on the next thing.
I promise you guys, this is very well thought out. This is thought out to a point of like literally, what is the next thought? What is the next thought after that? It's almost like a chess game and you're thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead of you. Okay. Because I've been through that phase, I can tell you what the next steps could be for anyone in any situation. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Okay. Fantastic, guys. Have an absolutely amazing day. And I will see you next week. And I will probably see you face to face very soon as well. Okay.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
Thank
Take care.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.